I'm live. What's up, MGTOW? How's it going? Well, I don't know where she's been hoeing. I just know that she's been hanging on the promises of the hoes of yesterday. Well, I've made up my mind. I ain't dating one more time. Just another hoe in need of rescue, with an STD between her knees. So I'm gonna hold out for the rest of my days. And I've made up my mind. I ain't dating one more time. And I made up my mind. I ain't dating one more time. So what's going on anyway? That was some MGTOW karaoke for you. I had a crazy Friday the 13th, man. And basically, you just wouldn't even believe what's going on around here lately. I woke up basically no power. The furnace isn't quite fixed yet. No heat. Oh man, what a day, man! Like a main fuse blew. Like it's supposed to be a 60, like what is it, 60 amp or whatever, 60-watt fuse, but it's somebody slipped a 40 in there, and it's like a really old school fuse, and so basically all the power was out. All the power was out. There was no heat. It was freezing cold, and my hernia was like killing me, like for like oh man, it was like a 24-hour period, man. My hernia, I still haven't got it fixed yet. I finally went to the doctor and got that diagnosed on Wednesday. Like basically you could see it. There was no way that that could be denied. I was like, there it is, it's right there. See, there's like a bulge, like like there's like a hump, like blue, you know what I mean, blue. It's just fucking sticking right out, and it was killing me. So I get up in the dark, in the cold. I'm like, oh, I'm like hunched over, can't, I mean, I can stand up, but it hurts, you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, it's better to just, I have to walk hunched over, get all dressed up. I'm like, oh fuck, oh my hernia. Then I go out in the dark and I'm like, what's going on? I go down in the basement. It's like fucking 7:30 in the morning. It's like 35 degrees in my house, and I'm like looking. I got a flashlight. I'm looking at the fuse box and shit, and there's no switches tripped. There's no breakers. There's no circuits tripped or anything. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, how the fuck is that possible? And I forgot there's a main fuse box on the other side of the house. It's like from the 1930s. It's like these big giant fuses in this old crazy like handle thing. You grab it and pull it out, and it holds like two in there, like big giant battery looking things. You know what I mean? I was like, oh. So I had to grab I had to change that fuse later on in the day when I basically talked to my father, and he was like, oh, main fuse, but he showed me like a few years ago and I just forgot. And basically he was like, main fuse box on the other side of the house, which kind of sucks because I have to have access to the person's basement on the other side of the building to do that. So if they're not around, I can't just go fix it. You know what I'm saying? So then I go to work. Hernia is still killing me. I get out of my truck. I'm like, oh, I'm late for work because I could not sleep because I was in pain for like all night long. That, basically I couldn't sleep because my hernia all night long until about 4 or 5 in the morning. I fell asleep. Then I woke, and then my alarm didn't go off because no power. So I wake up late. Then I go through all that, and then we're like, man, what the fuck are we gonna do? Holy shit, we got. So I go to work thinking we got no power, and I have no idea what's going on. So, or no, I didn't go to work. I was late because I went to my father's, asked him, then and then was like, oh yeah, and went and I fixed that. And then I went to work and I'm late, and fucking and my boss looks at me and I'm just like, I don't even want to fucking hear it, man. I was like, I don't even want to fucking hear it. I was like, I've just had the worst fucking morning ever, man. Oh yeah, right on, Sweeney. So um basically I go into work and I'm just like, oh, and and then so I'm trying to, oh, so basically I don't know, whatever. From then I'm sitting there. Then I get them, and then I get a page. You know what I mean? Not paged like over the whole building. Like basically, I get page. Just my phone gets paged. Stuart, pick up line one. I'm like, why? There's a lady on line one that wants to speak to you. I'm like, oh man, what the fuck is this now? And she's like, I think she's from, or she won't say who she is. So I'm like, who the fuck can this be? I pick up the phone. I'm like, Stuart speaking. And they're like, and it's like, oh, this is the DCF worker that was trying to get a hold of me. I called her. Oh, that conversation was ridiculous. If you could have just heard that conversation, I was like, she's like, so to what extent have you been involved in the boys' lives? And well, you know, um, that's a long story, but I'm gonna have to tell you. But I basically broke down the whole story of how she basically just had my kids without me around, didn't even tell me she was pregnant, and then ran off with my kids to another town, and didn't let me know. Didn't I didn't find out about my kids until she lost them. Then I had to then when my I was like then when I had an opportunity to get custody of my kids because she lost them for neglect, basically abuse in my opinion. They call it neglect. I think what she did was abuse, but I'm like, oh, I asked my wife, and she says no. My wife says no because now I'm married, and I'm like, so they said, oh, you got to waive your rights completely, or so we can adopt them then. And this is crappy, I know, but I did it to protect them from the mother. I took the chance that they would get into, I was like, you better put it, and they wouldn't give me visitation. Now, I know mothers who were drug addicts that lost their kids, and their kids are adopted out, and they'll do backflips. They'll still give the mother visits while the kids are adopted out to another family. You know what I'm saying? I think it's mainly if the family agrees with it. In my case, before the kids were even adopted, they were just like, nope, nope. You know what I'm saying? So I told her all this. Then I told her how shortly after, I think my wife did it on purpose. I swear to God. Shortly after that happened, my wife cheated on me. So I basically divorced her. And as she was walking out the door, I said to her, I basically gave up my kids for this marriage. And she just let her and her daughter both just laughed in my face. I told her that. And I said, so people pretty much think this is funny. And then when I talk about why is this going on to a lot of the men that I know, I said I told her, I said, people literally start threatening me with violence and with police. So just me searching for answers. Why is this happening? I said, people get violent with me. They don't want to hear it because it forces them to see the world from a perspective that they don't want to have to deal with. So they start immediately, I told her, getting angry at me and telling me if I don't get out of their house right now, they're going to call the police on me. And I said, so I go, then I finally, after years and years, I go, I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars for courts and lawyers and stuff. And I told her, I said, she listened to this whole thing, to this whole rant I went on. And I said, and my parents don't anymore either. They're old and they want to retire. And I said, so it took me like 12 years to find one lady that would help me for what I could afford, navigate the court system and be a witness with me. Because you being alone, I mean, it's, you know what I mean? They'll just make you look, they'll just use the Delphi technique is what I've talked about before on you to twist every, you know what I mean, to make you angry and then make you look like you're acting out. So, so basically, second guess everything you say. And like I said in the last video, see, political incorrectness is not the problem. There are things that are politically incorrect. It's just that they twist everything. Okay. So anyway, I told her, and I go, so then it took me a year to get 3 visits. And then I said, and I had one little disagreement with the mediator that I chose to avoid drama. And she threatened me with police and violence too, and said if you don't leave, right, I said, and I was like, well, I asked my kids, you want to come wait outside with me? And the lady was just like, if you don't leave, I'm going to call the police on you right now. I said, so one little disagreement. I said I was 3 minutes late, and she was talking to me like I was a dog in front of my kids. She was like reprimanding me like I was a dog for being 3 minutes late. I told her, and I said, and then the court, I said, no claim, no crime committed, no nothing. I said the courts immediately switched around and they took the mother's side from one little thing a lady said. And I told her that I told the court, it's against the rules, your own rules, out on the door for me to have a long, drawn out fight. And I said, so if one lady and I, can say anything she wants about me, and here I am back in court, and everybody is trying to use it against me and take my kids from me and punish my kids. I said, what's the point of being here? I said, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to put it. I told her, I said, I'm going to, in good faith, trust that you'll do the right thing, Your Honor, and send me a letter in the mail. And I got the letter. No more visits, backed up by the court. Just that's it. No more visits ever. For no reason. I said, but they'll take my money. And I said, and then I got to prep you. And this is why political incorrectness is crazy, because now you got to, now I have to preface what I'm about to say by going, not that I care about the money. You know what I mean? I care, I do that for my kids, but I go, it can be used against me. You know what I mean? I go, if I don't, pay the child support, by everybody and my kids later. You understand what I'm saying? So I told her basically, no matter what I do, I go, everyone's going to say I did it. Even if I do the right thing, I told her, everyone's going to say I'm wrong, or went about it the wrong way. Another excuse that everyone uses. When you do the right thing, they go, oh, I agree with what they did, but they went about it the wrong way. Yeah, they just went about it while you sat on your couch like a lazy piece of crap and didn't do anything about it. But my point is, I'll get to the comments in a minute. I just don't want to lose my train of thought. So she listened to all that, and she goes, well, I'm sorry, all that happened. But she goes, how often has your caseworker contacted you, because you have an open case with DCF? And I said, never. I go, I'm pretty sure my kids are being hidden from me. Never contacted me. And she's like, well, they're supposed to contact you. And she's like, as far as visits, I can't really do anything, and and on and on. And I go, yeah. And I'm just like, it basically came down to, she's like, you'll have to go to the court for that. And I was like, I did go to the court for that. And I go, they're basically trafficking my children. And she's like, well, I think trafficking is kind of a strong word. I go, no, they're making money off of me. I've done the research. Maybe you haven't. I go, I've done the research that the courts are making money. The lawyers are making thousands of dollars and taking my kids from me. That's trafficking children. I go, I don't care if they have badges and fancy uniforms and stuff. And guys with guns down there that will kill you. They're trafficking my children right in front of me. And I go, and the mother was allowed to kidnap my kids and get all the benefits. And she's like, well, she can't kidnap them. She has custody. And I go, as should I. I go, they're my kids. They're my biological kids. I should just have had custody, and none of this would have ever happened. Right? Correct? You know what I mean? I said, I'm saying to her, I'm like, I go, they're my kids. I should have had custody from the beginning. And I go, and I shouldn't have to do anything, period. Because I told her in the beginning, never done anything wrong, no criminal record. She's abused kids, but I know her history. She's lost several kids. I found out after she abused mine because they hide all women's stuff. But I told her all that. But basically, you know what I'm saying? I told her all that too, and I go, so if I grabbed the kid. Oh, that's what I said to her. If I went and grabbed the kids and took off to another town, it would be kidnapping, right? Yeah. And well, you don't have custody. And I said, and I should. They're my kids. You know what I'm saying? And I told her the whole thing. They're my children. And they're taking my money from me. You know what I'm saying? And so I go, and I said to her, this is what I said to her. I said, if I was the sheriff of this town, I would go down to that courthouse and I would arrest everybody. That's what I told her. I said I would go down to that courthouse and I would arrest everybody. I'd deputize all the fathers I knew, not the scummy ones, but all the good ones, because there's a lot of them, or all the there's guys that are in trouble now for the rest of their lives because they've done things that are their constitutional rights. I mean, I frown upon a lot of stuff like drug use, hard drugs, especially, heroin, meth, cocaine, and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's people's constitutional rights, you know what I mean, to do these things. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of guys' records, a lot of guys have had that held against them. You know what I mean? As far as seeing their kids and stuff like that. Whereas if I was the sheriff, unless they were like, pimping their kid out or something to make money for drugs, I wouldn't care. You know what I'm saying? Or if they were chaining the kid in the basement and making him eat dog feces so they could spend all their money on coke, I might step in. You understand? As a sheriff, I might step in under some circumstances like that. But as far as basically, I would basically go down there. I told her, and she didn't say anything at that point. She just was like it was quiet. And she's like, well, I'm going to meet with you anyway. So I got to meet with my kid's new DCF worker. I don't know how that, I don't even know. It's probably pointless is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I told her, nobody cares what I say or how I feel. And you know what I mean? And anything I do, they'll just say I'm saying the wrong. She goes, well, at some point she was like, well, all this. And she goes, I don't understand why you can't just go to the courthouse and tell them all this, without a lawyer. She just thinks it's like that. And I go, that's what I did. I go, that's what I did. And when I told the truth, they said I was lashing out and said I can't see my kids anymore. That's just incredible. I'm telling you, she must be new or something. So technically it's still foul though. And so he's saying for people harping on millennials, at least they're losers on their own. If you had kids and fuck up, it's a disgrace, right? I just watched a video on how Jordan Peterson has a single mother-daughter by choice who left the father and took the kid. the guy who's shaming all us men, telling us stop being cowards and just wife up all these crazy women, has a single and that we should as a society enforce monogamy and shame people, and shame through basically he was saying society should shame and out of sex marriage and all this stuff and shame our kids into monogamy, he's saying. Meanwhile, he can't even control his own single mother-daughter, his own who left the father probably so she could ride the sea carousel, as we call it. You all know what I'm talking about. So what's going on, MGTOW? That was my point in the last video. People, same with, take social justice warrior. if social justice warriors were fighting for the right thing, like you know what I'm saying, then it wouldn't be a big, it would, I keep looking at the wrong spot, sorry. If social justice warriors were fighting for the right thing, basically, and then social justice wouldn't be bad. You understand what I'm saying? It's all everything is twisted, and then there's some buzzword that it seems like the establishment comes up with to take something that you could use as a tool for good, like political incorrectness. If you were making actual things like, you know, bestiality and men sleeping and women sleeping with children, you know, that would be politically incorrect. Or a 50-year-old man identifying as a 6-year-old girl. These types of things, if that were politically incorrect, you understand what I'm saying? But they're making the norm what's good for us as a species, or as a, you know what I mean? They're taking that and they're making that politically incorrect, and it's incredible. Everything, that's the whole paradigm that's like shifted on, like flipped upside down. Same with you know, like I said, social justice warrior, all that. But so the problem, that was the point of my last video. I think I should have been more clear that political incorrectness or political correctness isn't really a problem. It's the, you know, inversion of reality, and making, you know, and that now when you tell the truth about what's going on, everyone just twists it as you being politically incorrect and out of line now, and you get shadow banned and every other goddamn thing. I'm 46 and I identify as Papa Smurf. There you go. That should be politically incorrect. That in the 70s, that would be insane. Okay, now it's normal, and monogamy is insane, and we don't know what would happen as a society if we flipped back, because things might go better if society started shaming all these damn women, you know what I mean, and to not being nasty fucking Instagram hoes. Excuse my language. I had to click that this is not material for children already. It's just, it's a disgrace what's going on. But and it's the was the point of my video. And so you can't even tell the truth now, especially if you're a male. If you're a male, you're automatically just politically incorrect from the get-go. Like everything you say is politically incorrect too. And that's flipped on its head, because men are the ones, of course, that we all know in MGTOW, that build and keep society and upkeep society, and try to have logical rules for society that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And not like, you know, everything now, and not like everything now that's inverted. And that's how it is, and that's why, and that's kind of why it's like I'm forced into MGTOW, because I know that as a male, as it is in this right now in this day and age, and whether it changes or not, that's, I mean, you know, it's, I mean, you know, I can still do little things that are within my power, within my little sphere of control, as the new agey type people say, to try to help things change. You know what I'm saying? But I can't go out of my way, and unless I, you know, I mean, in other words, I can just, if I wanted to go out of my way and just put myself out on a limb and get in trouble, or do something, you know, or do something extreme, you know what I mean, that where I'll get killed or put in jail, right? That kind of takes me out of the game. It puts you in the penalty box. Now you're useless, and then your future is ruined. You understand what I'm saying? And if I want to go, and if I want that to happen, I can just shoot myself in my living room. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just kind of forced into a MGTOW lifestyle, and that's just until because society is insane. And it's not just women's. Society is insane. So it is a necessity. No matter, and anybody tells you any different is lying. I mean, and you can go live and you can go get in relationships and find out for yourself. That's how much I believe in the product that I'm selling you. Don't take my word for it. Go have a kid or two, or go get a girl and pay off her college debt. Yeah, go get it. Go find a woman with big college debt, pay off her, pay off her debt and have a kid with her, or two, and then watch when she lands a good job. You know what I'm saying, and all this stuff. See if she doesn't leave you hanging. You know what I'm saying? That's how much I kind of. I mean, it's like don't. It's that whole. When you're telling. When you're telling the truth. When you're like, hey, don't believe me. Go find out. Go walk out in the minefield. There's a minefield right there. Oh, you're just being negative. You're just afraid. You're just afraid to go over there. You're just afraid that you're just being negative. You're lazy. You don't want to go over there. Da, da, da. Okay, all right, go ahead. Walk out in the minefield then. You know what I'm saying? Like, go ahead. Well, hopefully someone will go out there and help you and pick up your body after your leg's been blown off or something. And that's just basically how it is, and here's the thing though too. It seems like it probably gets worse as you get older too. Like these women get worse as you get older, but then they discourage you from doing it while you're young. You know what I'm saying? Like it gets worse it's like I noticed that the women as I got older got worse. The quality got worse. I'm just telling you that the attitude. They just everything about the women got worse. But then not only are you discouraged from having families and everything young, you're also treated like a perpetual child now. And it's like until you get out of college with a ton of college debt, and then that kind of locks everybody down into working so many hours, for this big machine basically that's just going along, eating, just crunching everything up, eating everything up and spitting it out basically. And so instead of guys getting out of high school like they used to do, having being able to get an education in what they needed to do in high school, get a good job right out of high school, or maybe out of the military or whatever, and just bang, and then have leisure time. I remember the guys in the 70s that, they just went to trade schools and maybe some community college at the most, but generally they got out of high school knowing what they needed to know, and then they got jobs making more than I made in the 90s because they want you to go to college now and get in debt, and keep you strapped down with debt. So my point being is I remember guys in the 70s, you know what I mean, like my dad and all his friends, all these guys, they had a lot of leisure time where they were innovating things. They were several, I saw several inventions probably that will never be really accredited to anybody come out of this town, as far as archery and God, I mean, I saw and like you know basically my father would sit in the basement and he innovated a little machine that he would stick an arrow on, because we were heavily into archery and going to archery competitions and stuff, and it would spin the arrow so we could pinstripe them and stuff like that. After we got done making arrows, you know what I mean, we could lacquer them up, you know what I mean, glue the feathers on, knock it, and then we'd put it in this thing and spin it, and we'd put pinstriping on it. Then we'd take it off, and then we would glue the tips on, and they weren't screw-in tips like they are now, well, until aluminum arrows came out. But and then finally carbon arrows. But I'm just saying, I saw the men were able to sit around and innovate and invent things, and like like, you know what I mean, build businesses together. Now it's like you're like a broke child out of high school. If you come out of the army, usually they don't want you. For me, I can only work as mercenary. Yeah, right, Joe. Exactly. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like it used to be different, man. I'm telling you. And what they're doing to you now is a scam. It's all a scam, and it's got to stop. And the public schools are in on it too. And they're teaching you to be perpetual kids. And so, hey, can I do some of that mercenary work with you, Joe? Let me know, man. I'm pretty good with a long range rifle. No, anyway, so anyway, my point being is they, this is all slowly. I watched them slowly implement this, so they can't hide it. This all didn't just happen overnight, young men. If there are any young men watching this, this was slowly planned and put in, and I watched it all happen, and I watched all those men, a lot of them get kicked out of their families, and I watched the women, as soon as no fault divorce came out, and then the women were quick to bang. They had new men in the house right away, right in the bed, just, you know what I mean? And everybody felt sorry for the women, and everybody shamed all the men all the time. And then, basically by the late 80s, you couldn't get a decent job without an education, like I said. Whereas I watched these men from the 70s, they were making $30,000-$40,000 a year out of high school and out of trade school at 17, 18 years old. They were starting families at 20 years old, having 3, 4 kids. And before them, my mother's father had 7 kids. 7 kids, man. And he worked in a mill as he worked in a mill as a tailor, sewing, you know what I mean? And so stitching and stuff. And so, that was, there were men did that stuff, you know what I mean? Stitching and sewing and clerical work and all that stuff. Now it's all women, man, taking over. The elvish magic. Bear traps were banned because of animal cruelty, while testicle traps flourish. It's incredible what's going on, man, and I'm here to talk about it. And that's what we need to do, is start getting elected sheriff. Go to your gun clubs. I was thinking, me and my friend were talking the other day, go to your gun clubs and start letting all the guys know at your gun clubs that if you get elected sheriff, go to the presidents of your gun clubs and the chairman, you know what I mean? And to the board, and say, hey, in your whole, because, in your county, there's probably several gun clubs, and that's probably, I mean, the guys that I know are like members at every gun club in the county. Even like there's guys that I know that are members of gun clubs out in like Westfield and Springfield. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm here in the Berkshires. So my point, and that's like Pioneer Valley or so. It's miles and miles away, and they barely ever go. They're just supporting the gun clubs. You know what I mean? All these sportsmen's clubs. So my point being is, go to that's what would really change things around, because you could start. The problem is a lot of even the gun owners are simps, and that's what sucks, because what I'm trying to say is, if you could get elected sheriff through spread the word through all the gun clubs, starting with Second Amendment, you will fiercely protect Second Amendment rights and people using, if you got to shoot somebody in self-defense, tell them if you're a sheriff, you're not gonna, you're not gonna, you know what I mean? You're not gonna, you're gonna get their back. Basically, you're not gonna lock them up for any stupid little thing. But also, you could also start saying, and I'm going to let all of the single fathers, I don't care what the courts say, I'm going to let them see their kids. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to send police and arrest them and stuff like that. And then the men can confidently go see their kids, knowing that if the bitch pulls any bullshit and the police will show up and just be like, yeah, well, maybe you should maybe you shouldn't be out here on your own. Maybe you should be living with under the protection of the father, letting them see his kids or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of stuff that would switch things around. Sheriff is a really powerful position to have. And if we had the right men in the position of sheriff, we could probably swing things in men, you know what I mean? Because this isn't a democracy. So it doesn't matter what laws people vote in. And if they rig the juries with stupid people, the sheriff could really just be like, no, I'm not locking up me. If if you had a bunch of good guys as sheriff and police and all this stuff, they could be like, no, we're not going to lock them up. We need the room for real criminals. Because I'm reading how like sex offender, child molesters are being let out of prison in New York and all this stuff. It just shows you the type of people that are running things. So we get what we put up with, I guess. Anyway, I just wanted to do another little video from my little apartment. I was kind of checking. I was cleaning out my guns. Cleaning out my shotgun, lubing it up. Like I finished my paint job on this gun. You can see it's pretty tight. I might do some lighter little bits of green in there. There's some orange, green, black, white. But I was able to, with no these new rifled slugs in these shotguns. I'm wrapping it up right now, but these new rifled slugs in these shotguns, the Sabo slugs, I was able to get a 3-inch group at like 100 yards with no scope with a 12 gauge shotgun. Try doing that. Like there's another thing that's changed since the 70s. We used to use smooth bore barrels. and it's just especially without a scope, you wouldn't get a 3-inch pattern with slugs at 100 yards. And basically, maybe you'd be lucky if you got them, and because they kind of I think they kind of spiraled, so there was like it's kind of like roulette where it's going to hit while it's spiraling. But basically, 3-inch pattern at 100 yards with slugs now. And then I don't know if anybody knows this, if there's anybody who's interested in guns that's watching right now, but I found this ammunition by a company called Brennecke, and it's called KO slugs, and in very small print. And I looked around on YouTube, and I didn't see anybody really mentioning this, but in really small print, it says on their box, these KO slugs by Brennecke, it says for both smooth bore and rifled barrels. So I don't know if you know that, but I picked up about 4 or 5 boxes of it, and I had to, I ran out of it, so I had to re-sight in for my Remington AccuTip or whatever AccuTips they are for hunting. But there's more bad news. But because my hernia, no hunting, man. I couldn't even handle it. It was like, too much activity and like stepping over down trees and trenching through 2 feet of snow and all this stuff. No, can't do it, man. I got to get my hernia fixed. But those KO slugs, man, they worked pretty good. I was getting a decent pattern with them. You know what I mean? Enough for hunting up to 100 yards, and they you don't have to change your barrel out. You can use them through both smooth bore, and I didn't shoot them through my smooth bore barrel yet, but I shot them through my rifle barrel, and they were doing pretty good. So anyway, yeah, that's it for today. It's Saturday, and I'm gonna relax and probably watch something on the internet, and that's it. MGTOW Misfit over and out.